As a new mom, as a very new mom, who had just had her first child, I remember thinking, people don't talk about how crazy hard this is. Babies, I knew they had a different sleep schedule than adults, but I didn't realize they never slept, which isn't always true, but it was true in my experience. It almost felt like when I had Ben that he micro-slept and was awake much more than he was asleep. And when he was awake, the world seemed very intrusive to him. Everything seemed too loud. He startled very easily. He needed to be held a lot. All babies do, but we're talking 24/7. So pretty early on, I felt like there were differences between my experience and the experiences of other moms that I was interacting with. I was a stay-at-home mom at the time because my husband had been in the military and we had done a series of moves. And it just made sense for me to stay at home at that point until my baby was a little bit older. All parents have to deal with the challenge of letting go in some aspects. You want to encourage your child towards independence, and you can't run the show anymore. You have to hope that you've given your child the skills that they need in order to start taking command of their own life. And the thing is, with a child with an autism diagnosis, they're not, just the experience is the same as you've had all along. They're not going to mature in a predictable way.
I've been attending SUNY Purchase for the past 2 years, and I can safely say that these have been some of the most stressful, most emotionally draining years I've probably had since elementary school. Back then, I didn't really have a whole lot of support for my developmental issues. And add to that, my teachers were not necessarily the most supportive of them either. And at that point in time, my folks were still kind of in the process of trying to figure out what was wrong with me exactly. I had a couple diagnoses from ADHD to dyslexia, and it really wasn't until about last year, during November, when I had a sort of an official diagnosis for autism.
I think it depends on the academic year, but definitely students coming into their first year here, especially if they're living on campus, that's a big transition sometimes from high school to college. So sometimes in the high school setting, there was a lot of structure between the home setting and also in school with the different types of supports available at the high school. So transitioning to college, it's a lot about learning what your supports are at your new college, how to access them, and also kind of how to make friends in this new type of setting.
Around 6th grade, my mother decided to pull me and my brother out of public school and decided to homeschool us for about 2 years. I did eventually end up going back to public school around 8th grade, and by that time I was given a couple of resources that I could take advantage of. Like, for example, a resource room which took up at least one period every day, in which me and a small handful of other students would receive sort of one-on-one help with one of the teachers. And it was thanks to this sort of inclusion class period that I had at least one period every year from 8th grade to 12th grade that really helped me with a lot of the organization work that I needed to get done. Like, I always had someone constantly standing behind me telling me what assignments needed to be done next. But the main issue is, like, you know, a lot of these resources, while they helped me out through school, they didn't really teach me how to keep everything organized. So, you know, having those supports basically pulled out from under me once I came to college, it has been kind of a bit of a rough transition, to say the least.
Our office oversees accommodations for any student who identifies as having a documented disability. So students are, if they identify with autism, they're able to receive accommodations in the academic setting. And then we look at also maybe what the areas are that they have challenges with, so how to provide equal access. So that might be test taking, assistance with note taking in the classroom. Sometimes in housing it might be living with less roommates to make sure that the environment is like more calm and there's less stimuli associated in the residence halls. We also have a fee-based program here at Purchase College for students with an autism spectrum disorder, and it's an optional program because it goes above and beyond the federal mandates. There is a fee, and it's called the Cornerstone program, and so students can opt to meet with the program coordinator once or twice a week. And the goals are really individualized to that student based on intake and questionnaire, etc. That's all organized by Amy Fisk, the program coordinator of Cornerstone.
Students on the spectrum sometimes struggle with executive functioning. What does that mean? That means managing your time and being able to organize your thoughts appropriately. So even like starting a paper, understanding that you need to start it like a week ahead of time as opposed to 2 hours ahead of time before it's due, you know. Knowing how to organize your thoughts well, submitting things in on time, that can be difficult. Relationships wise, you know, maybe the person really wants to maintain a relationship or wants to start a relationship, but isn't really sure how to approach someone appropriately, and then it could like fall south, you know, if it's not done appropriately. So I think that can maybe be an added challenge for someone on the spectrum, if that answers your question.
I have a child who has always had a challenge finding his peer group and making friends. And now I'm not even there, so I can't check and see, you know, is he doing okay? I have to trust him to give me the information about how he's doing. And for a variety of reasons, he may not want to tell me.
As someone who is a neurotypical, it's difficult for me to really 100% know the experiences of someone on the spectrum, and I learn as much from my students as much as they learn from me, to be honest. So in terms of advice, I think to really understand there are services on campus, there are people that want to help, and it's okay and very normal to ask for help in college, whether it's professors, the counseling center, learning center, wherever that might be, that it's very normal and okay to ask for help when you need it. Oh, the other piece of advice would be yourself. You're in a wonderful environment that I think in general accepts all. So I think to be free to be yourself would be another big one.